Blessed are you, breath, for you are the spirit that sustains me in difficult days. Spirit comes from the same root as breath. And as you use, it's said sometimes that Unitarian Universalists are Unitarian to the third person of the Trinity, the Spirit, Spirit of life. This is often where we place our trust in the Spirit. Blessed are you, breath. Sometimes it's important to step back and take a breath and consider. Before we act or react. Some of us have experience in families where there might have been gaslighting. Do you know what gaslighting is? Where someone tells you that your reality is not reality at all. Oh, no, you're making that up. Oh, your feelings aren't real. That's not what had happened. Some of us have experience in families where there might have been some level of abuse or fear, where we might have had to walk on eggshells a bit in order to keep the peace. If I don't provoke that person, everything will be fine. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I am very happy for you. And if you do know what I'm talking about, if you know, then you know. Maybe you've had a work environment where that's the case. If I don't ruffle any feathers, if I just don't speak up, then everything will be fine. But is that really peace? Is it really fine if we have inner turmoil about all the things that we can't possibly say or do because it could ruffle some feathers, and then we know all hell will break loose? Is that really peace? And this is a tool that oppressors use in small groups and in large groups, in nations, to keep power and to keep others down. You shouldn't provoke. Let's keep the peace. But is it peace if we all have to be exactly the same and we all can't speak and we all have to fall in line all the time? It's been said by many people, and so many that it's hard to pinpoint exactly who said it first. It's been attributed to Martin Luther King Jr. and Mahatma Gandhi and many others, that peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of justice. How do we create that? What must we risk for that? Even within our own UU churches, you know, we used to do that thing for a little while. Well, we'll have to change the lyrics of all these hymns here. We have to take out any references to God or Jesus or certain other theologies because somebody might be offended. So we'll just keep the peace. But what were we creating? Where we created a world in which nobody could fully express their theologies. When we were trying to be everything to everyone, did we end up being nothing to everyone? Was that keeping the peace, or was that creating inner frustration and turmoil? How did we learn to truly accept and celebrate one another? And be joyful for one another? While celebrating ourselves. What did we have to risk? And what must we risk going forward? In our story today, Bayezid Bustami took a risk to make peace. He was attacked, and he could have escalated. He could have fought back, and he would not have been wrong to do so. He was physically attacked. But he did that thing. He stepped away. He took that breath, the spirit that sustains. He recognized that he wasn't really hurt, and he recognized the plight, the situation of the man who had attacked him. And he took a risk and decided to make justice. So he presented the man with a way to recognize in himself what he had done. He didn't yell at the man. He presented the man with gifts and allowed the man to discover for himself what wrongs he had committed. But that's risky, isn't it? What if? What if the man didn't accept the gifts? What if he became further enraged? We've been talking about risk and change, and we know that change cannot happen without a little bit of risk. Bayezid Bustami was willing to take that risk, and it paid off. And he was able to create true peace, true wholeness. where in our lives do we need to create that true peace and wholeness? And where are you willing to take those risks? Where in yourself are you feeling conflict, if you are? Is there some place where you need to be honest with yourself? What are you willing to risk for that? What about in our families? At this time of year, we spend time with our families, even if it's virtual time. What things are weighing on you? Do you have peace? What would it take to create the true peace of wholeness? What about in our own faith community? Yesterday, I spent time with a small group of folks. We told stories about our own faith community here, about the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Lehigh Valley. And that recording will be made available for people to see the stories. And there were lots of great stories, and there were some painful stories too. It can be risky to tell those stories, can't it? But is it riskier to hold them inside and to react to things because we haven't talked about them? Isn't it important to share? What are you willing to risk to help us move forward in the true peace of wholeness? And what about in our wider community, in the Lehigh Valley, in the nation, in the world? This is a risky time right now, isn't it? In this time between the election and the inauguration, our current president still hasn't conceded the election, but we know he lost. We are seeing unprecedented non-cooperation in the transition. How can we respond? Must we respond? What must we do? What are you willing to do to have the true peace of wholeness in our nation? Not the uneasy peace of, if I don't say anything, it will all be all right, but the true peace of wholeness. The peace that comes with justice making, where people can once again feel safe. How can we create that world? What are you willing to do? As it happens, you'll have a chance to talk with the Social Action Committee today after worship. I got that right, didn't I? If I didn't, you let me know in the chat, but I believe our Social Action Committee will be hosting a Zoom breakout room during coffee hour. What are you willing to risk? Now, Bayezid Bustami, he didn't risk everything he had. He didn't sell his house and go move in with this man. He sent some money and some sweets. We can take little steps. But we can't expect peace to be dropped on us from above. We must make peace happen. Peace is not passive. Peace is what we make it. You know, if you've ever received an email from me, I sign off in shalom. Shalom is Hebrew. It means really the peace of God's wholeness. We must make that happen. It's in our hands. You want to show me your hands? Are you ready to hold this in your hands and to make this happen? We can do this. We can do this together. Remember, we've got each other's backs. High five and namaste.